Hello everyone. We treat so many diseases where we actually don't have acts to cover those diseases. Why do you think HIV Act is there? We have MTP Act, we have PCPNDT Act, then we have this HIV Act. HIV AIDS Prevention and Control Act. No idea. No thought, yes.
Discrimination.
Discrimination. So what happens because of discrimination?
Maybe
Sit.
may not be preferred for employment or say in view of
Correct. That is the part of the act. How does it matter to us? Yes, sir.
patient who is discriminated against may not take the treatment at all.
May not take the treatment and that changes or falls out of treatment, then the resistance pattern and everything changes. So as he said, there is discrimination, one that is for prevention of discrimination, one the health implications of the discrimination and stigmatization which are there. So we will see what this act covers. This act addresses stigma and discrimination, as you said, and it creates enabling environment for enhancing access to services. There are certain components of the act which are in the health systems and certain components which are applicable in society at large. It also safeguards the rights of PLHIVs and those affected by HIV. That is, the families of the patients, the children who are born to these couples and both the parents are not there anymore and the children are orphans, and the way they are stigmatized and discriminated against, they are denied even education and otherwise basic services. So addresses that. It promotes safe workplace. So it has also components which ensure our protection as healthcare providers. So safe workplace in healthcare settings to prevent occupational exposure and strengthen system of grievance redressal. So various groups which are vulnerable under this umbrella of this HIV disease. One is people who are affected directly, the patients themselves, who are denied access to healthcare and who have lost livelihood, who have in various different ways inside and outside the health systems have undergone humiliation and assaults and have restricted mobility. In a way, this is human rights violation also, because right to health is one of the fundamental rights. Then there are widows of these patients where they are thrown out of houses by their in-laws, even if the patient, the husband has been the reason for passing on the disease to the wife. If the wife gets disease, she is thrown out. If the wife does not get disease or is she may be suffering, she has only HIV, but still the husband has died, she is thrown out. If male children are there, male child is kept behind with the family and the mother is thrown out. Female children are thrown out. So there is double jeopardy for these women. One is because of their being women, the discrimination, and second is they are also denied the services, the otherwise rights. Then denied their rights to the property. Then the children, as we said earlier, they are teased, shunned, shouted at homes and in neighboring areas, excluded from social gatherings, and at school they are made to sit separately, humiliated, expelled from classes, etc. And lastly, the high-risk groups. So the transgenders, drug users, all these high-risk groups where actually, they fall through the cracks in the system because one, we ourselves have a sort of bias against these people, and we happen to socially ostracize them as well as in the medical systems. So these are the various areas where this act, which this act covers. One is it addresses stigma, discrimination, creates enabling environment, safeguards the rights of these people in the society, their inheritance, etc., provides safe environment and has grievance redressal mechanism. So the clause 3 of the Act says that it prohibits acts of discrimination by any person against HIV positive persons in education, health, public facilities, property rights, employment, eligibility to stand for and hold public office. So it covers all areas. It prohibits propagation of feeling of hatred and discrimination or physical violence related to HIV/AIDS and provides penalty for this discrimination. It also provides for obligation of the central and state governments for free antiretroviral treatment, management of opportunistic infections as far as possible, welfare schemes for these persons, formulation of IEC programs in the age appropriate manner, gender sensitive and non-stigmatizing manner, and for risk reduction. For the first time in the public health setup also, people are talking about clean needles, which has otherwise not really spoken so much. Distribution of condom was always there, but providing clean needles, which otherwise only the NGOs were doing. Now the public health system also recognizes this as a need for these people, and this will not attract civil or criminal liability. So that is the important part of this act. It makes special provisions for HIV affected women and children where they have not been allowed their inheritance rights and sharing household rights, etc. For safeguarding rights, informed consent as a prerequisite for testing is mentioned. Provides for confidentiality of information relating to HIV status. Now this is one part which the Act addresses in a little different manner, which we will see later. This is the general statement in the Act. It safeguards the property of HIV affected children and provides for recognizing guardianship of older siblings. It provides for suppression of identity in the court proceedings. So privacy and confidentiality is maintained. It provides for safe work environment for us, universal precautions, post-exposure prophylaxis, training for universal precautions, and information and education about the same. See, here in these large tertiary care centers, we take this for granted, but otherwise in smaller setups this is not so easy to come by. So the Act has to mention and ensure all this. So now the grievance redressal mechanism is that there are ombudsmen who are appointed, and they will be addressing the complaints of discrimination. So for various offences there are the penalties which are under this Act. So propagation of HIV related hatred, the penalty is imprisonment which shall not be less than 3 months but which may extend to 2 years, and with a fine that may extend to ₹1 lakh or both. Then for non-compliance of orders of ombudsman, the fine may extend to ₹10,000. In case of repeated offences, additional fine up to ₹5,000 per day. And breach of confidentiality in legal proceedings, the fine may be up to ₹1 lakh. So now what the Act says about disclosure of HIV status, we will see. A physician or a counsellor may disclose the HIV positive status of a person under his direct care to his or her, the patient's partner, if the healthcare provider reasonably believes that the partner is at significant risk of transmission of HIV from this person. That person has been, a positive person has been counselled to inform the partner himself or herself, and that we are satisfied that the positive person will not inform the partner, and we have informed the positive person that we will be disclosing the status. So this is what the Act says. Now the Act also says a healthcare provider shall not inform the partner of a woman. So here, whatever, because of her subordinate status in the society and secondary status in the society, what women go through, the Act says that we may choose not to inform the partner of a woman in a particular circumstance. We may mostly, see, counselors are very good at disclosure of status, etc. They have much more skill than any of us, in talking to these people. They have been taught extensively, trained extensively in communication with couples. So they do a very good job of it. Mostly doctors will not be able to, because of lack of time, second because of lack of training, thirdly because of the distance in the levels which are perceived by the patients and perceived by us also. We need not lie to ourselves that we don't discriminate and we don't have any attitude problems with these patients. We always have. Doctors always think they are far above the patients. So because we can't bridge this gap, patients are more comfortable, families are more comfortable with counselors. We see this time and again in our ANC OPDs also, where the patient has delivered 2 years before, she will still come to the counselor for any of her problems, and then that counselor will do her handholding, take her to ART center. Patient is not pregnant at the current time, but still they will trust this counselor because they have shared that very critical information, and the counselor has been with them at that time of their life, and they have done a good job about it. So what this act says is, where there is a reasonable apprehension that such information may result in violence, abandonment or negative effect on the physical or mental health or safety of such woman and her children. So we may choose not to declare the woman's status to the partner. The healthcare provider under subsection 1 shall not be liable for any criminal or civil action for disclosure or non-disclosure of confidential HIV related information made to a partner under this section, because for a long time this section 164 was bothering, it was saying that we have to put the interests of the partners also, health interests are important to us, and a partner can sue us for not declaring the status of his wife, positive status of his wife or the female partner. So this is about the act. So the two important things for us is ensuring that the atmosphere in the wards or OPDs wherever we are working is stigma free and discrimination free. Secondly, all the right information is provided, because in denial of information also amounts to a type of stigmatization and discrimination, and endangering our health as well as the patient's health and the health of patients' families. And thirdly, regarding disclosure. So thank you very much.